Have a quorum. So, all right, ready? Okay. If you'd like to call to order the Park and Recreation Commission meeting of November 23rd, 2020. This open meeting is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th to suspend public gatherings, and as such, suspend the open meeting requirement to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. For this meeting, the commission is convening by Zoom as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please be aware that this meeting is being recorded, and be aware that others may be able to see you. Take care not to screen share your computer. All supporting materials that have been provided to members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. So with that, I will call the meeting to order. It sounds like we may have one interested resident who doesn't wish to speak. Is that correct?
We have another interested resident, Jacob Matthews. If you could, in your question and answer, identify yourself so that we can avoid any Zoom bombings, and then we will call on you when it is appropriate and during the agenda.
Okay. Thank you. So I don't think we have any public comments. We typically start with our director's report, but since we have our assistant town manager, Dave Davison, here, welcome, Dave, and thank you for coming. Why don't we start with him, so that if he's welcome to stay with us for the entire meeting, but then if he would like to get on with his evening, he can do that. So why don't we, if the commissioners don't mind, and if the staff doesn't mind, go to Mr. Davison and ask him for an update, I believe, on the Needham baseball and softball project.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The reason I asked to come before the board was to actually address questions the members may have, and that's specifically acceptance of gifts that could then be expended for improvements at the town's fields, or in this case, at one of the ball playing fields. That one, yes, the town can accept such cash gifts. It does require the select board to vote the acceptance of it, and individuals or organizations that would wish to make such a donation can restrict how that donation can be made or where it should be spent, meaning what type of project that the donor would like the money spent on.
Okay, commissioners, do you have any questions?
No, just if you don't mind, a general statement that, Dave, this was great to hear of, I guess, how we've been doing it one way, and for lack of a better term, it has been incorrect, that the way that there's now a procedure that needs to be done, I think that's going to help a lot of the youth groups of what they can and what they can't do, for at least procedure wise. That I know there were a lot of assumptions with some of the groups. So to know what the policy is going forward, I think that will help a lot of the user groups, because people do want to do the right thing and they do want to help out as much as possible. That to know how they need to do it, what they can do, I think will be a huge help.
Yeah, so Dave, we used to, and it doesn't feel like it was that far back to me, that groups would be able to do something, a project, and then give that to the town. And it sounds like that is no longer the procedure. Is that correct?
I think it might be a small project that might be a weekend job or something. People can donate, and then you would first indicate what the intentions are, how what the gift is. For instance, if someone was to donate bins for collecting athletic gear and such, that's an item. They would indicate that they want to donate that, and then the select board can vote to accept it and it can be used. What can't be done, which we used to remember many years ago, is you can't build a building on public property. You can't build something that's permanently affixed to the ground, because there are requirements. Anything that is built that would be with the intent that the public is going to be able to use it is required to comply with various wage and hour laws and the prevailing wage. Then there's also requirements of who is eligible to do the work. There is certainly engineering standards that must be addressed and and then any plans need to be certified by an engineer. So, so things that we used to do many years ago just is no longer possible. But again, to reemphasize, if one's donating items, brand new items, or tools, or movable athletic accessories, that can be done.
Okay, so I did know that we could no longer do a project like the Field of Dreams was done, the way it was structured back in 2007, I think. But I thought that what Needham Baseball wanted to do was more in the area of services than of a structure. And is there a dollar amount, just so we can be, so at least I'm clear in the future if a group comes to us, so we can tell them.
Again, if it's a de minimis, and de minimis is hard to quantify all the time, but a small improvement, let's say one was putting down a cement, that a contractor was going to put down a pad to put a trash barrel on, that might be a cost of $1,000. That might be possible. But once you start getting into an area of tens of thousands of dollars, then the process has to just follow the public procurement process. It has to follow the wage and hour requirements. And plus it's added complexity and liability that the donor may incur as a result of being actively involved in the project. So it's also for the protection of the donor as well, that one would want the town to actually procure the services or procure the construction and have it done by a third party in accordance with Chapter 149 or in Chapter 3039A.
Okay. So who makes that determination? I mean, what we would do is we would turn to Stacy and Kristen and say, what do you think? And then I guess they turn to either to you or someone in your organization in procurement.
Yes, it would be a combination. Well, the first area would be speaking to town council of whether, notwithstanding procurement or contract law, there would certainly be a discussion with town council. Secondly, with the town manager, and then the town manager would rely upon guidance from finance. And if there is a gray area, I would be in consultation with the Attorney General's office if it's involving construction, or the Inspector General's office if it's involving personal property.
Okay. Thank you. I mean, we want to do it right. We don't want to circumvent the rules. So any questions from the commissioners or the staff?
Just one quick last thing. I know that, and just want to make sure I was clear on this. Let's take Needham Soccer or Needham Field Hockey, for instance, that we have it set up for Park and Rec is we will line the fields for the first time, but then throughout the season, those organizations have to pay for that. That works perfectly fine under the policy that we have, Dave, so we don't have to worry about, coming to you every single time, say Needham Soccer wants to line one of their soccer fields for their season, or field hockey, because we already have that in our policy.
I wouldn't view that as a donation. I would view that as a condition for use of the field.
Okay.
Just as we require the fields to be cleaned up after activities, just as we require the fields to be put back into condition that they were in. That's the same thing, is
Okay.
that it would be their responsibility to set up for their activities that in such a manner that we approve the way that it is done, because we certainly don't want anything permanently damaging. So items such as lining is not an issue, because it's a condition to use the field.
Okay.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Great. Anything else? Okay, well, thank you, Dave. We appreciate the clarification because we were a little confused. And even talking to Ed Olson, I think he thought we could just have accepted a gift from Needham Baseball, and now it turns out we couldn't. So thank you. I appreciate the clarification. Thank you for attending.
Okay, very, very important. I don't want to leave you thinking that you can't accept the gift, but it has to be a gift to which they're making the gift for a purpose, but then the town has to go through the process of making the project happen. So
Got
I
it.
don't want you to leave that you can't accept the gift.
Mhm.
And again, the gift, they would indicate, if it's cash, they would indicate how much they would like to donate and what's the purpose of it. This is certainly the Park and Recreation Commission would vote whether that they support and would appreciate that gift, and then convey that to the select board, who then would vote. Uh, If it's a gift that can completely cover the cost of the projects, in accordance with the public bidding laws, we can begin the process of starting the project. If it is not a sufficient amount of money, if there's going to be, let's say, a town match, which sometimes happens with gifts, then that certainly would be it would be a financial warrant article that would be presented to town meeting. Certainly, I think town meeting appreciates being able to leverage third-party donations and not have the town cover the entire cost. So again, gifts can be accepted. They can be accepted and held for some time until the other resources, whether it's from town funding or other third-party donations, are are done. And then we go to town meeting, get the appropriation. If the gift covers the entire cost of the project, then we can, just based upon workload, we can proceed once the workload would allow us.
Okay, great. All right, thank you. Appreciate the clarification. Hopefully we will get many gifts in the future. We seldom say no.
Okay,
Great. All right, well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dave.
you're welcome, everyone.
Have a great Thanksgiving, Dave.
Happy
Same to
Thanksgiving.
you all.
Dave.
Bye.
Thank you. Okay, great. Well, that clarifies, and youth baseball is good with the arrangement, as we know. Is that correct, Chris? There.
They're good. Yes.
Okay, terrific. All right, great. Well, thanks. Thank you, Stacy and Kristen, for inviting Dave to come in, and appreciate him taking the time. Let's go back. Oh, go ahead.
Just one quick question on the process from now with baseball. So if
Mhm.
they were to proceed with a gift, they have a dollar amount, they have a list of what they'd like to get done. I would assume all of the services can be completed with the money that they're donating. So can that process start, or are we still determining that? Because they would have to go out for a bid. I'm just wondering how the process works once the gift is approved. Now what? Does it have to go into like a long line, have to fit into the
Right.
workload of the town? Like, is it going to happen in
Right.
2023? Because that's my concern with these gifts now. That
Right.
it's not going to happen when the kids of the families that donate it are in the program.
So once the gift is approved by the select board, it can be fast tracked depending on a couple items. So one is, will it cover the cost of the entire project? Then that definitely gets it like 2 steps ahead. The other factors are the engineering department and typically Ed, depending on the project. So if engineering and Ed have 40 other projects that they need to oversee, it's not gonna jump the line because they only have so much bandwidth. But if for this one, we will need engineering stamped drawings for one of them. So if engineering can't do it, we may have to go out to one of our contractors. So then we have to factor that into the cost. And then is the gift enough to cover that? So those are the 2 factors. Now, right now, Ed is pretty open to oversee any of those projects. When we had that meeting, he is. Engineering is slammed. So we would probably go to one of our 4 engineering firms that we typically reach out to. I've also been told that the engineering firms are swamped because a lot of towns are taking advantage of CPC in COVID because you can get a lot of work done with not a lot of people around. So it's just a matter, once it gets approved, it's a matter of getting those engineered documents. And then we should be able to move pretty quickly once that happens.
Okay, thank you. All right, if there's nothing else, why don't we move to the director's report?
All right, short report, which is sort of goes in line with this time of year for Park and Rec. Not COVID world, but in general. Fall programs are, pretty much wrapped up. We are holding on to a couple of new ones and trying to run a few holiday sort of one-off programs in December. The Great Turkey Adventure actually begins tomorrow. Is that right, Kristen? Today? So I was a little off.
Sometimes
Got ahead
that's
of ourselves.
today, and we'll go up tomorrow.
Right. Chris went around to the businesses today and put out the clues and the turkey. So at this point, we have started the Great Turkey Chase.
Okay,
What's that?
I said, okay, great.
Fields and permitting have ended. Yay.
Yes.
No more 6 p.m. calls. Can you please turn the lights on? They all turned off on us, which happened like 4 times.
Really?
Yeah, because the high school would turn them on. And then when they left, they'd turn them off. But
Oh,
they weren't permitted, but they had permitted till 6. So then the youth groups weren't permitted till 6. So that, like, if the high school turned them off, I would have to go in and turn them back on.
So
okay.
they're trying to do the right thing, not knowing someone else
Yes.
after is gonna be, okay.
Yes, it was just like a
Yeah.
big deal.
So can you do that?
Thankfully, that happened
You can do that.
only,
Can you do it remotely?
yeah, I can do it from
You
my
can
phone.
turn them on.
So it's fine. And then the safety lights, they'll be here this week. Keeps happening. So those lights will be hopefully ready to go by March for the spring season. And those are the safety, like, parking lot lights that are around the track. They're not field lights.
Right. Right. So what's the story with those? They're going to be turned off or they're just not working?
They're all out. All the bulbs are out.
Or all that?
Jeez.
They were, the system had turned off, or it had been, the switch had been flipped for whatever reason. We turned them back on and only one out of all the lights worked or something. So we're just going to replace all the bulbs.
But there's no reason to have those go on during the whole year? I mean, they are safety lights. You'd think we need lights for safety. I know there's nobody using those fields, but
Yep. They're timer, so we can turn them on. It's just a matter if you want people, all the fields are closed. The track is not officially closed, but if we want people on the track after dark, we can technically set them to go on. That is concerning to me because of the darkness around that area.
it is very dark. Yes. Right. I don't know what we've done in other years. I don't know if those safety lights have always been turned off because I never go. Seasons are at night.
The bulbs have been out apparently for like 5 years, so nothing.
God.
We've done nothing for the last 5 years.
I was
So
on the
those
low
of us,
part of the list.
those have been out a lot because we had a lot of complaints, and then we had them all fixed. And then I don't know if they go out a lot, if that's typical, but they don't seem to have a regular replacement plan for we don't, or DPW doesn't. And we used to get a lot of complaints of parents picking up their kids in the dark because, why don't we in the parking lot? And I'm like, we do have lights. And we went over at night. This is a while, maybe 5 years ago. And we was like, oh, we have lights, but they don't work. So we insisted that they be fixed so that they worked because we had some with people before that who didn't want to fix them. But I don't know why they would continue to not work, right? They need to work.
They certainly do. One of the beauties of Musco lighting, which is at our Memorial and our DeFazio fields, is that if a bulb goes out, Musco gets an alert
Really?
and they go in and fix
Okay.
it. And so as we upgrade Claxton to that, the same thing. These lights are not Musco lights.
No, it's not.
Random lights. So
Right.
they have to be more, we have to figure out what the lifespan is, what the true lifespan is, and then put them on a maintenance schedule. So now that we have fixed them, we can keep a better, once we fix them, we'll be able to keep a better eye on how long they last. I don't know if 5 years ago they put in LEDs. I would assume they did, but maybe they didn't. I don't
I don't
know.
know.
And I don't even
I don't know.
know
It
if the poles are outfitted for LEDs, so.
I would be surprised because you're pretty old, but it begs the question, should we be thinking about replacing those
Yes.
light fixtures, not just the bulbs, but replace them with better light fixtures and have them be Musco lights and
Yes, I
all
mean,
that
that is
stuff.
definitely something we should consider to put on the capital plan,
Okay.
because it won't be an inexpensive fix.
Right, right. I mean, there's safety lights. I don't know how anyone can argue with a safety light.
I agree.
Okay, all right.
Chris, would you
Commissioner
like to
Bristol?
argue with safety lights?
No, I would like more safety lights is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Just random question to ask. So I know it happened 4 times this year with the lights accidentally being turned off because another user group thought it was the right thing to do. Procedure wise, and let's say Needham Soccer, they have the ability to turn off the lights. So say they want to go till 8 o'clock and they're done at 7:30, they could call into a number, turn off the lights, correct?
Somebody should have an app on their phone. I imagine it's Mark Miskin
Okay,
would have a username and password.
got it.
So they could download the app and then turn it off. Just like Dan Lee is the one that after high
Okay.
school sports is clicking a button.
Would it be, I mean, a thought to maybe give certain user groups the access that if that does happen, like say, Stacy, you're traveling or something like there, that only certain ones, when they're permitted, could turn on that lights if it happens, like say they can't get in contact with you or Kristen, whoever it might be, is that a possibility?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay,
I'm
why?
just speaking as around forever, and I'm saying absolutely no.
Okay, why?
I think it needs to be in the hands of the town. If we do give it to Mark Miskin, I think he is more special situation. He's an employee of the soccer club. He's a full-time employee, somebody that we know, and I think from what I can see, very trustworthy. The rest of the sports groups are staffed with volunteers. And I would not think that's a good thing to do. You don't want people having those codes, in my opinion. I think that's not the right thing to do.
Oh, no, I wouldn't give them to all. Like I would give it to probably soccer, and I think that's it. I mean, because they're the ones that generally use Memorial and DeFazio where they have those lights. I'm not talking all the user groups. I'm pretty much saying just soccer as a possibility, because weren't they the only group that was affected by this, or were there other groups?
Junior football were the two, them and junior football.
I would more go towards soccer because of the size and the use of the fields that they do. I would not give this to all the user groups. Like I'm saying, I would specifically say soccer is probably the only one that I would, maybe give this to.
Maybe. I mean, I just know that we have some pretty serious restrictions based on agreements with the neighbors as to what we can do with those lights. And I would be very reluctant to give that out. So I just don't think it's the right thing to do. Now, again, if we wanted to, if Mark Miskin has it, if we make a special exception for that, that's a different situation. And I do know our junior football is run by, one member of our select board. So I certainly don't mean to imply that.
That's
that he-
flag football.
Oh, that's
Well,
right.
Junior
that's
football is different.
That's different.
him. I
I
just
tend
don't
to
think it's
agree.
a
The
good-
thing is, the app, the system has the capability to, yes, allow many different options. The thing is, my concern was if we gave it to somebody and they turned the lights on some weekend that we weren't aware of, we
Okay,
would find out eventually because it shows up in the system and we run an invoice report. And then trying to track down that person to say, you owe us this much money, and then the potential argument that may ensue, even though it shows up who turned them on or who turned them off,
right.
doesn't mean that Joe didn't hand the username to Sue, who didn't hand the username to Pat. So
Once it gets out, it
Right.
gets out, Jerry.
once
Okay,
it's
no,
out,
that's-
it's out.
Just wanted to ask.
Okay. Thanks for asking though, Chris.
No, it's worthy of discussion. That's what we had.
Absolutely.
All right, moving on. All right, playgrounds. The in-person assessment has been done. She gave me the quick overall. DeFazio and Perry are the worst. You knew that. We already have money for those. But the bigger report, which will help influence our maintenance routine or any routine that we have for these things, will come out probably within the month. The next question, as far as playgrounds goes, I know that Patty put in for some money that we have received. I have thoughts about DeFazio or Perry first. What are the commission's thoughts, or what were the goals, or who, before I showed up, what was the plan?
Well, the commission looked at the playgrounds and we ranked them by what we thought
Mhm.
was need in terms of being refurbished. And if I could remember that listing, I would be happy to go down that. Do you, Chris or Michelle or Kristen, recall?
I want to say DeFazio, the Tot Lot, and Perry were the top two. And the
Yep.
only other one that we were thinking about was maybe Cricket, because it wasn't ADA compatible. But I mean, all the other ones like Newman just got redone. Greensfield just got redone. So I want to say those three are probably our top three, and probably in that order: DeFazio, Perry, and then Cricket.
Right, and the Williams School is brand new, relatively brand new.
Elliott,
Right,
all the school
right.
ones are relatively, Mitchell just got redone a little while ago. So I think all the school playgrounds are all, but that's something more for the schools. But I think when we talked about how recent things got done, the three that we have responsibility for are probably the three that need the most attention.
I mean, when I was talking to Nancy, the top two that need the most work are DeFazio and Perry.
Mhm.
And the top two that need the least amount of work are actually Mitchell and Williams.
Okay,
Third was actually Claxton.
okay.
But
Is this
then, I mean, Cricket is in there, but because Cricket is a bigger building project, I
right?
would not go in and fix the playground when the sewer septic situation. So that was sort of like pushed towards that other project.
Is that Nancy White that you're dealing with?
Yep.
Yep, great. So of DeFazio and Perry, Stacy, do you think one is more critical than the other?
I think they're critical for different reasons. Perry's your great residential pocket park, but it's got concerning traffic patterns around it, and safety, right? Not the playground, but the space that it's in because of the traffic. DeFazio has concerns because it needs, and when I say leveled, I don't necessarily mean just the equipment, although that equipment is very old, but it is, the slope would have to be leveled out to make it ADA compatible. And I don't know about the wetlands and how close they are. And when the playground went in X amount of years ago, probably the wetlands weren't a concern. But now we're gonna have to talk to conservation about how close we can put things. And then the other thought for DeFazio was, do we consider putting some sort of sport court in that space or near that space? So DeFazio could become a clunkier project. But with Perry, I would really want to look at the traffic patterns because of the safety for the kids.
Right, so I will tell you that at DeFazio, the wetlands are all around it. I mean, it is in the that playground is basically in the wetlands, so we would have to work closely with conservation to see what could be done. I don't know what the possibilities are for Perry Park. There is basically no parking. I mean, people pull up onto the sidewalk, berm or whatever. And it's really a playground that was meant, I think, for the neighborhood, for people to walk to. But
I think, talking to Nancy, like, yes, there's no parking, but even like the sidewalks, crosswalks, flashing stop, like crossing signs would go a long way in that area without having to like cut out a curb in order to put in parking.
Right. Okay. Commissioners, any thoughts?
Quick, the group that came before us a while ago about Perry Park, was it just they were complaining about some of the outdated structures and people doing the right thing or think they're doing the right thing by dropping off toys there? Or were they also looking to financially support Perry Park? I can't remember if it was just more of a, hey, listen, we're looking for newer, attachments to go on there, or were they looking to financially help that out also? I can't remember. This was back when we were in the old PSAP building that they came in front of us.
Yeah, it seemed like more of an upgrade. Like there was a section where there was supposed to be something that went down and there was nothing
Mhm.
like restricting kids from basically walking off the structure. That was
Right.
fixed very
Mhm.
quickly. That was a high priority item, obviously, but it seemed much more of an upgrade and then just more of a policy and communication around the toy issue because there was broken toys that were always there and kids were hurting themselves. So it didn't seem like a complete overhaul that they were looking for. And I think as we were looking at the structures, it seemed like most of them were in pretty good shape, but upgrading things like that little house that had the roof that was sort of collapsing and like small upgrades would go a long way. So I guess my question to you, Stacey, is like, do we have to think of it as a full, like pull everything out, start again project, or are we just trying to supplement what we currently have? Like if we start going down the road of DeFazio and having to level the whole ground and put in new fencing and drainage and all of that, I mean, it's just a huge undertaking where I think our vision was just upgrading some of the existing structures to make better use and to encourage different types of groups there, because really there's only kind of one area for really small children. The slide that's made of metal that is so excruciatingly hot in the summer, like, so could be, actually it might be plastic now. I'm like thinking of back in the day when I was going down that slide burning my thighs. But
It
you know,
is-
smaller
It is
up-
plastic.
it is plastic now.
Yeah.
So I would just say, like, what can we define the scope of the project, or are we sort of having to kind of go with whatever recommendations are coming back to us in terms of overhaul?
So I agree. I think DeFazio is going to be a big project. And if we want to really think like, okay, I'm going to say it, you guys, if we do want to consider putting a pickleball court in Needham, that potentially could be a place to do it. Okay. But it could, that makes it a larger project, right? Perry, I think some of the equipment you're talking about is more outdated than before. I'm gonna show you a picture that Nancy sent me. I believe, I don't know if this is the house you were talking about, but
Yeah, that's probably it.
That's the
so
one.
this,
Yep.
Yep, that's the house.
yep, so this is, we are working on caution taping this off because this right here is an entrapment issue.
Oh,
So
so
if
that's
kid
looking-
gets a leg caught in there, it's not
Yeah.
gonna go well. So entrapment.
Wow.
So and so last week we didn't board up things, but we did have to caution some stuff off. And as things come up like that in a park like Perry or DeFazio, we're gonna take it out if we can, because it doesn't make sense to replace it. Now, for any project, we have to hit a certain percentage of ADA accessibility. That now means port in place. And so while I'm a huge proponent of port in place, it is costly, but the threshold is so low. We cannot just pull stuff out and put new stuff in and keep it all mulch or engineered wood fibers. We have to do some port in place. So that's where the sticker shock starts to come into place. We don't have to do the whole thing, but I believe it's around 60% of the underneath the features has to be that rubberized matting.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, somewhat. I just think it's one thing to have a really nice looking Greensfield playground because has all the new things, and it's another to just make slight changes to an existing structure without, like, I'd rather spend less money and make a few changes to a few different playgrounds than spend so much money to, make DeFazio a world-class playground. Like, really, I'm
Yep.
just not sure that was really the scope of what the money was for initially. We wanted to acknowledge the public's request to upgrade portions of the playgrounds. And it just feels like we're now going to get into the point where we're going to have to upgrade the entire playground, and it's going to be a much larger project than I think we were initially discussing.
It will be, and I think when the public came out and those two parks were identified, this requirement by Massachusetts wasn't in place yet. It was in the works, but not law. And now it's become law. So I think that is the kicker. I also think Perry doesn't need, we could probably do Perry for a very reasonable amount of money. And that's when I say reasonable, I mean $125,000, $150,000 for a playground. Yes, that is reasonable.
That's, well, okay. Okay.
That is
Okay.
very small playground with some good features and a lot of play value, meaning you get a lot of kids on a smaller area. If you put in one swing, you get one kid on one swing playing for however long. But if you put in, a platform slide thing where the kids can run around and, play hot lava, then you get a lot more play value out of it. Or you put in a swing that's a sphere, so you can put 4 kids on a swing as opposed to 1 kid on a swing. So there's a lot of options, especially in a smaller park. And Perry, I don't know the dynamics of the neighborhood, but Perry is it's a 8 to 12 playground. So it spans what is typically a 2 to 5 and a 5 to 12. So it's a weird mix of equipment in there. And so I think we could tighten it up and make it affordable
Okay.
at $150,000.
Kristen has a comment.
I just wanted to mention that when we were first meeting and these people were coming in for Perry and DeFazio, we weren't in the middle of a pandemic. And so what is happening now is that where school playgrounds are pretty much closed and not available in elementary schools until nearly 5 o'clock because of the COVID protocols that are in place at school, the need for different things at the non-school playgrounds has become a raised just question. And so we won't live in COVID forever. So that's thing, but it's something to definitely think about, having options outside of our school playgrounds that are not necessarily way ranged down or way ranged up.
Yeah. And we do get more questions about places like DeFazio, Perry, Mills, and Greens because they're not attached to a school. And so they are accessible, more accessible.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm a proponent of not letting anything the town has to, go to waste. So we don't want our playgrounds to fall apart. But then I also need to make sure those places that have the most traffic are kind of the premier parks. So, if we can do both, that's great. But Perry Park was a lovely park when my kids were little. I don't think of it as that age group. I think of it as the age group of 3 to 7 or something like that. Not anything beyond that age group. but it's hard to get to, it's hard to access if you don't live in that neighborhood.
Mhm.
And it
It
needs
was
some,
extremely busy when it was being assessed.
okay. And that asphalt area, basketball court thing, that is very problematic. We need to fix it. We need to take it out, because it is apparently over a cellar or something, right? We can't put any great weight on that because it's not just a piece of asphalt, but it has right? It would
Stacy
collapse.
didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't know
That
that,
used to
Steve?
be an old school years and years and years ago. So they covered up the asphalt area where their basement was. So you can't put
Yeah.
anything heavy on that concrete because it's a hollow floor below it.
Right, because it might collapse. So that's why it's only for little kids with little toys. So, because we talked about at one point, well, maybe we could do some kind of a court there, and what could we put on that? And then we found out, oh no, that's just covering a basement. I think it's a full basement. I don't remember the details, Chris, but
Yeah,
Use the
it's-
storage area. How good is it? Is it tight, watertight?
You can't access it. That's
I
the
don't-
thing.
I can get it. You'd have to build a tunnel. I don't know
Forget the
how.
boat
we-
launch. We'll have a tunnel.
Bananas.
Right. I mean,
Bananas.
it looked that way when my children were little, okay? And my kids are grown and married. So, yeah. So
Okay.
really think it should be taken out. We've just left it because it is cheap to leave it, right? There's no cost, but you can't use it. It'd be great if it could be a full basketball court or a hockey rink. You know, we have people say, could you flood it in the winter for hockey? I'm like, oh no, oh no. So anyway, just so you know that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so well, we will wait for the report. Are you looking
Okay.
for anything from us tonight for any?
No, really just wanted your thoughts on it. That's all.
Okay, all right. Well, I think you have our thoughts, even though we're circling it still.
It's okay.
Probably more thoughts than you wanted from me,
Right.
sorry. Susie.
It's fine. That's
Okay.
fine.
All right, terrific. Thank you.
Next is CPC updates. Chris, I know you had a meeting last week.
Yes. Oh, and the bulk of the conversation had to do with the school administration building, which went on for probably a good 90 minutes. And then we talked about anticipated articles or that will be submitted. The track resurfacing one was mentioned, so it will be back up on there. I know, Stacy, you had sent the copy of the write-up for the proposal. I don't know if it's been submitted yet, but it is anticipated to go on the docket for by December 4th.
Terrific.
And the assistant director position has almost been submitted to HR. I reached out to some of my colleagues to get some examples of their assistant director positions that were specific to water. And so I wanted to make a few more changes because they had some great ones. And so I was like, this is the time, but they should have it tomorrow.
All right, and then they review it. Does it get when do you think we get posted? How far?
I'm looking to post it ideally the first week in December. But
Okay.
do the first round of interviews after January 1st.
Okay, I would love for it to get out there sooner rather than
Mhm.
later.
Yeah, so I would like to get it posted next week ideally and have, 2 or 3 weeks of it up. And then over the holidays, we internally would have time to sort of rate the applicants and then start the interview process in January.
Okay, great. Any questions, comments from the commissioners before we move forward? All right, terrific. Thank you, Stacy.
No problem.
Anything else on our agenda tonight? Let's see. We've gone through first discussion item, new program ideas.
Nope. We do have some activity bags and packets that we are working on, birdhouse kit type things for activity bags. Kristen has worked with 2 of our summer staff to do some videos on like how to build a birdhouse, DIY birdhouse, or make your own snowflake paper cutouts. So they're gonna start to do videos of those type things. So if and when we go more inside and have to do more virtual things, we have some stuff ready to go. The turkey hunt's going on, and we'll figure out what we're gonna do for December. And I know we're gonna start working on so I guess you can call it a PSA on like, ask your neighbors if they need help raking their leaves, and working, like doing those kinds of things to help people in our community.
Okay,
Kristen, did I miss
Great.
anything, or is that the? Sweet.
okay, thank you. Facilities, miscellaneous commission goals, always an exciting topic. Thank you for making our changes, Stacy or Kristen, probably Kristen, right? Thank you, Kristen. So we have two things on this. First of all, I guess I would ask Chris and Michelle if you're okay with the things, the items listed under your name. next
Yeah,
to
now's your
name.
time. Matt and Bruce are not attending, so you can always shift it.
I'm thinking, but we really ought to put some stuff on them. Specifically Bruce, because he's new. He's still got a lot more energy.
Bruce did reach out to me. He apologizes for not letting us know. He had a family situation. One grandson knocked out a tooth, and he had to take care of the other grandkid, or he just forgot to tell us. So.
Okay. All right. Happens. Let's see.
Do you think we need three co-liaisons to the youth sports organization? Because it's me, Matt, and Bruce on that.
No, I really don't. That could probably. So I would say.
Would you give Bruce, take the co-liaison away from Bruce and maybe give him the school committee? Because if he's already been doing it with the Memorial Park trustees, would you give him the school committee?
Sure.
I mean, that's a suggestion. I mean,
Yep.
Unless you want it, Michelle.
No, I mean, I don't mind doing the school one. I don't know which one. I mean, I would do either. I would leave it up to.
Well,
what you guys
you're
say.
you're here. If
And
you
you're-
want it, you can have it. If not, it's going to Bruce.
Right.
I mean, I guess I would like to keep the sports organization.
Okay.
All right. So let's take it off of Bruce's responsibility, and let's give him the liaison to the school committee. I wouldn't mind giving him the liaison to our commission appointees, but I'm not sure he would know what to say to them since he's in his first year. So Michelle, I see that you are a co-lead for the Field Summit. Who are you co-leading with?
I think the intention was for whoever was doing the co-liaison for the youth sports organization to also lead the Field Summit. So I would think it would be Matt as well. It just was missed off of Matt. Yes.
Okay. Wait,
Sorry.
I get
okay.
to pick whoever I want. That's fine.
All right, well, you
Matt,
can
is that-
choose.
Matt, yeah.
All right. Okay, so it's just liaison to commission appointees that I guess is unassigned.
If it needs a home, I'll take it, because I mean, the rail trails every 6 months, right, Stacy? So, I mean, it's not like it's a huge one burning up the time. That if
Right,
it needs a home, I'll take.
I don't mind taking it either. I mean, it's something that we've been very, very lax about. Like we'll have people who are great, and we have our appointees come in and we talk to them and they talk to us, and then we go 2 or 3 years and I'm like, wait, Who did we appoint to that board? Or we get a notice that somebody resigned and like, oh, we didn't remember that person. So, not a lot of heavy lifting, but we do kind of need to talk to them every now and then.
So I don't
All
mind
right,
taking,
well-
it. I mean, you got the select board and the finance committee, so.
Right, okay. I also have liaison to Trails Advisory Group, but I'm not sure that even still exists, so.
I'm working on bringing it back at some point, so we can revisit it then.
Okay, I mean, it was a terrific group, but not
Mhm.
of work since the group doesn't currently exist, but, okay. All right, well, can you then make those changes, Kristen? That would be, we can vote on them tonight or we can vote at the next meeting.
Why don't we vote at the next meeting?
Why don't-
I have a
I-
meeting with Katie King tomorrow that I'm gonna check in with the select board goals. see if
Okay,
Have been approved and see if there's any that are specific to Park and Rec. So we can
Okay.
discuss those as well, and that may or may not change our goals and committees.
okay, and if you could remember to put it as an action item for next time for us to vote
Yep.
this. Okay, that would be great. Okay. Perfect.
Hey Cindy,
Yes, Kristen.
on the goals, there were, not all goals had identified members that were leads on the
Oh.
goals.
Yes, thank you. So do you think we need a commission member assigned to each of these goals?
Some of them that were traveled over, that some of them belong to Dave and some of them are new. So, and they could be all members. I didn't want to make that assumption though without the conversation.
Yeah,
I think if we make them all members, I'm gonna suggest if we make them all members and then we get into one of those projects and we need a lead,
Mhm.
probably then appoint a lead.
yeah, I think that's great. So that's great. It means you don't have to make a decision tonight, so I'm all in favor of that. Perfect.
Done.
Thank you, Stacy. Thank you, Kristen. Okay. Done. Let's see, special event approvals. Is there more than one? There were two here, but are they the exact same thing in my package?
I'm pulling them up. One is Mitchell,
Parking lot bingo?
parking lot bingo. And the other is Mitchell's parking lot bingo.
Yeah, are they different?
Yes, but we're not telling you how. No, they're not different. They're the same one.
Wow.
But I'm like, huh,
The one with
I
the parent top line. I thought I touched them both, but apparently I might be overseeing. And I saved it at the wrong.
is it, there's supposed to be another one? I thought it was a test to see if I was really looking at, if I was reading the package, I'm like, huh.
You
that's
win a
great.
prize.
We're gonna do it twice.
It was a test.
All right, so
Can you give me
I
the
did
wrong
read
one?
it. And then I had to go back and say, wait, this seems so familiar. Oh, just read it. So, well, let's talk about Mitchell School parking lot bingo. Commissioners may remember that this was one that was submitted and there were some questions and I think some changes and work going to be held. And then by the time they submitted the final plan, it was between our last meeting and this meeting. So Stacy and I talked and then she presented it to the commissioners and said, if we didn't have any objections, she was going to go ahead and let it happen. So I think it is kind of like an approval after the fact, I guess. It
Retroactive.
did happen. Yes.
It did.
Okay. So do you need us to vote to approve it? It's already happened. Do you need an affirmative vote from us, Stacy?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. Then I would entertain a motion from a commissioner to formally approve this special event that was held on November, was it 15th? 15th.
I make a motion to approve the Mitchell School PTC parking lot bingo.
Second.
Okay, any questions? Any issues with it? Did it go okay? Okay, all right, hearing no comments, we'll come to the vote. Commissioner Gerstle,
Aye.
Geddes?
Aye.
The chair is also an aye, passes unanimously. Thank you. So
Aye.
Chris,
Kristen
Was
is
it-
going to share the other permit,
okay,
and so you guys can see it. This one, I believe, is also retroactive.
yes. Parent talk.
Oh, wow.
Oh, this is the turkey hunt. Okay, okay. So we also had talked about, Stacy and I talked about this one, and then she was providing this information to the commissioners. So if anyone has questions, please ask questions. If not, I would entertain a motion to approve this one.
I'll make a motion to approve the Parent Talk turkey hunt.
Second.
Okay, any further comments, questions? Hearing none, we come to the vote. All those in favor, Commissioner Gerstle,
Aye.
Commissioner Geddes,
Aye.
and the chair is also an aye, so it passes unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Kristen. I should have sent you a note today and said, is there supposed to be the other one? But I just thought it was a test. Okay.
I was just, after last packet, we had 350 pages. I was like, oh, this one's only 12. I bet they won't even read this,
Well, I did read it, but I have to confess I was reading it around 4 o'clock today. But you don't get points when you read it, but I did read it before the meeting.
Or is before.
Exactly. It is before. Okay, so lastly, we have on the agenda, we have minutes from the meeting of September 14th that was in your package. And
Oh, how are we gonna do this?
yeah, I don't know if we can approve these since Michelle was absent. Chris and I were here. We're at that
Yeah,
meeting.
we'll have to we will resubmit them for the next
Okay.
meeting.
Okay, I just realized that now, actually, when I read it before. I
Same
didn't
here.
realize it.
Mhm.
So that will be for the future. Are there any topics for future meetings that anyone has? No? Kristen, I would ask if you could somehow make a note that we don't lose track of those safety lights at DeFazio as perhaps as a future review, whether we decide to do a capital project to improve those lights or just to come up with whether or not they should be on all the time and be, year round and be fixed. They should always be operable. I just don't want to lose track of that. So if there are no topics or issues not reasonably anticipated by the chair, which I don't have anything. Oh, Commissioner
Michelle.
Geddes has something.
Can I ask one question about do we know of any plans for the Pollard fields behind Pollard? I've heard there's rumblings happening that I can't quite answer of what's happening to those fields coming from neighbors in
What
around-
rumblings are you hearing?
that
I
they're
haven't,
gonna- that they're paving that whole field and making a parking lot.
At
And that they've
Pollard?
notified the neighbors that they're gonna have to take out trees in order to accommodate the parking lot that will be over the fields. And I was at a soccer game there the other day and I was like, that is not something I have heard. And they're like, oh yeah, ask Michelle, she should know. I was like, I don't know.
Maybe if we had a liaison of the school committee, we'd know this. No,
oh boy. I have not
Yeah.
heard anything. Can I ask, is there a school project in the works at Pollard or no? Because sometimes they'll pave a field to put in parking to
Oh,
fix,
like
you know what I mean? They'll do temporary.
Yeah, it's
Mm.
not nothing that I've heard of, and they've built the like the ropes course, which I think that they did some pruning of trees there for that, but there was explicit just like descriptions of no, they're taking trees out in order to pave the fields back here, but someone may have misunderstood, but everyone was looking to me for an answer and I did not have one to provide.
I wish I had one too. If you happen to see anything, can you that you can send it?
Yeah.
I have a meeting with Katie King tomorrow, our weekly meeting, so I'll see if it's on her radar at all.
Great.
But I haven't heard any.
Okay.
I'm thinking that Ed Olson would know, right, since he's in charge of fields. He might know if there was something like that. That's news to me, and I can't remember if there's anything major happening at Pollard. I don't remember any major projects from town meeting. Do you, Chris? Nothing
The
in terms.
only thing I would think of is with COVID now is maybe they might put some of those portable, I don't know, classrooms in the back. They might widen that back, but I haven't heard anything of them paving the whole field at
Right.
all.
There are already a lot of those pods back there already, but you're right, they could be extending that.
That's the only thing I can think of.
But I don't think we voted on any portable classrooms. I mean, that's a pretty major capital item, right? I don't remember. I'd
You
have to
would,
go back
yeah.
to warrants, but I don't remember that. Could be wrong. I don't, but I would think Ed might have. So Stacey, if you want to reach out to Ed, you may see if he says what.
How reliable is this source, Michelle? Come on
Oh,
now.
not reliable at all. I mean, it's not like a source. It was more neighbors. I mean, it was, neighbors had mentioned it on Colton Park, saying, "Oh, we got notification that they're going to be taking out trees because they're going to be adding to." But they maybe the parking lot was going to be extended from the front going back, and it wasn't touching the field area. I'm not trying to spread any
No.
rumors. It was just more of I think-
Thanksgiving rumors.
yes.
Thanks, Michelle.
Kristen, have you heard anything?
The view that was impacting the fields was what the concern was about, coming from the sidelines.
Kristen?
From the capital group that I'm in, it doesn't look like there's anything specific to athletic facility improvements, which were submitted, or any building projects, because all of that would still go through building maintenance, even though it's a school thing. I don't see anything on the horizon in the 5-year scope. So unless
Fingers crossed.
urgency, but I would think they would know to say something. So, but Ed and Cecilia probably know more than if it's a moving target.
Yep.
Like it's a emergency tree removal, parking lot extension.
Right. Interesting. All right. Well, thanks for bringing it up, Michelle. I mean, it's likely if they got a notice about tree removal, it might not be for the purpose they think, or else we just don't know about it. I don't know.
Hmm.
Huh. Maybe they're building a pickleball court.
Yeah.
Could be.
Had to go there, didn't you?
I had to. All right. Else from the commissioners. And the staff. Okay, then our meeting schedule looks like our next meeting is December 14th. Tentatively December 28th. I would hope we don't have to have that meeting. Hopefully we can get that the week after Christmas. I don't know who's available, but let's keep that in italics the way you have it, and then first meeting in January. And I think that's it. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Could I have a second? Thank you. And I'm going to break the rules and say all in favor. Just please say aye.
Aye.
Going to say thank you to the staff. Happy Thanksgiving, and please extend thanks from the commission to the rest of the staff. We appreciate the hard work. It's been a very difficult year, and we are crawling to the finish. But have a happy Thanksgiving. I hope you and your families enjoy it, and I hope you get to be together in some manner or format, but have a nice holiday.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks, Cindy.
Be safe.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Right.
Bye.